coordinator and I were together at Auburn in '06 and '07. One of the great guys in our profession and does a fantastic job offensively. Their quarterback situation, Drew Barker started the year for him, and Stephon Johnson came in and played extremely well for them last week. Started at Grambling and was at junior college, but a guy that runs their offense very well. We expect both guys to play, obviously, and they don't really change a whole lot as far as what they do schematically based on who's in the game. So we got to prepare for both guys, but they have a lot of very talented guys offensively. Boom Williams, JoJo Kemp, Benny Snell's a guy that they've a freshman that's come in and done a fantastic job for him. Really talented at wideout, Timmons and Johnson and Baker and Badgett. I mean, they started these guys 2 years ago, and they all played as freshmen. They're all juniors and seniors now. Conrad, the tight end, 4 starters back on the offensive line. So they've really been efficient offensively. They turned the ball over a little bit in the first ball game, and they got that taken care of last week. Defensively, they've been a 3-down and 4-down team. They're big at the corner position, a lot of middle field coverage, some quarters, pick their spots to pressure, but you got to be prepared for both fronts, and Mark does a really good job on defense, and they're very good in special teams as well. But we're looking forward to going on the road and playing an Eastern Division opponent, and I'll open it up for any questions.
Will, you've talked about the offensive line a lot these first 3 weeks. In your view, what has been the biggest problem? Just getting out physical, or is it the timing, the cadence? What's been the problem up?
Well, I think that we got out physical in Starkville. I thought we played very well against a very good Vanderbilt defense in our first ball game, and I thought we played well again. When you give up 3 negative plays in 53 snaps, I think that's pretty good performance. 0 sacks, pressure on the quarterback that wasn't on them in one situation. One, we got beaten one-on-one situation. Other than that, I thought we played well.
As a defensive coordinator, when you're in a situation like Mark is where things are not going well, how do you balance between maybe we need to do things differently versus this is what we've always done and we need to do it this way, the players have got to do better? Well,
I think, Josh, that what I would say is I can only speak from my experience. Obviously, if you continue to do the same things, you're going to get the same results. So you need to change something, whether it's personnel or scheme. So those are things to me that, you got to speak specifically to a situation. I don't know those answers, but that's always what I've looked at, number one, in myself, and then number two, what we can do as coaches, and then number three, if it's not working from that standpoint, maybe it is personnel.
Well, what have you seen out of Brandon these couple of practices back after he had the performance he did last Saturday? Have you seen what you wanted?
Yeah, I've seen the same guy that since he's been on campus, continues to improve every day and attacks the day the way you want it as a quarterback at South Carolina. And, again, a guy that's going to continue to get better and better and better as we move forward and the experience he gets. And so I haven't, seen any change, which is good.
Go back to the room, Rick. Will, is David Williams' performance on Saturday, is that an indication that he's beginning to get what you want from him and that he's finally getting on the same page with you?
Well, again, I think that he played extremely well in the game. I thought he ran as hard as he's run since we've been here. But it's about consistency in your performance. We don't need to be one-hit wonders around here. We need to do it consistently well all the time.
Do you plan for Rashad Fenton to play a fair amount of nickel this week?
Possibly. There's some matchup things that we like to look at, and depending on each week, that's why we try and cross-train our guys in multiple spots to get the best guys on the field. And he's a guy that could play nickel, he could play corner, and obviously we'll do some things in the return game, sure.
Will, do you expect Debo to be able to play, and are any other guys injured or coming back?
We're in good shape. He moved around well, so I'm expecting him to play. Again, if there's any risk of injury and they do a test with him strength-wise, I'm not going to put him out there. And there could have possibly been a situation Saturday for some snaps here and there, but it's a lingering thing. It's something that we're trying to do more research of why. This started in high school for him, and it's been an ongoing process since he's been here, so we needed to figure it out.
Playing at Kentucky has traditionally been tough for South Carolina. So a couple of questions for you. Have you ever been in a place and had a similar experience where wherever you go, whether it be at Florida, that was just a tough place for us to play, or LSU, anything like that?
I think it's what you make it. Yeah. Go play well, go coach well.
Anything about playing at Kentucky in your memory that is different or
They've done a
unique to-
fantastic job with their stadium. I mean, the suites in I guess, the north end zone are beautiful. They put the field turf in, I guess, 2 years ago. So I know they've redone their football operations facility. This just moved into it this summer, I believe. No, it's a really nice stadium. Our fans will go to Keeneland probably during the day, right? Will you go?
No, I was very disappointed. When the schedule comes out, first thing I look at is, are they going to be racing
Oh,
at
it's gotta be,
Keeneland?
is it
But they're
not?
not until October 7th. I'm pretty disappointed. I'm going to the gift shop, though, if you need anything. Just let me know. Give me a list.
I'm a little heavier than you. I mean,
How much has Antoine Wilder improved over these first few weeks? Obviously started and made some big plays.
yeah, it was a huge play on the goal line, knocking the ball off the guy. But, Antoine's a physical player, and play to your strengths and improve your weaknesses. I think he's really recognized those things and worked on the things he's got to do to continue to improve and help us. And he's been a really good special teams player for us. And that's what a lot of time as a young player, you build trust on special teams for making good decisions. Because when you're covering a kick, you got to make a decision whether you're going to go speed or backdoor or things like that, or our terminology and how we do things. And he's built up some confidence in us, and he earned the opportunity to play, and he did some nice things.
Coach, first 2 out of 3 on the road in the SEC. I'm wondering how that might help this team going to Kentucky now, going back on the road, especially for a young team.
Well, we need to play better than we did last time. That's the bottom line, and that was kind of my message for our guys we talk in terms of every time we have a team meeting, we talk about winning the East, and this is an Eastern Division opponent, somebody we're going to be playing every single year, and we need to play well. And the last time we played on the road, we didn't represent South Carolina very well, in my opinion, as far as our effort was concerned.
How helpful has Chris Moody's versatility been, and did you expect him to hold the role he kind of did in the last game?
No, I think Chris is extremely bright, really, really smart, has a high football IQ, and it's about putting him in the right spots. He missed all of spring basically, and really got him when the little part of spring that he played, he wasn't in very good shape because he didn't go through the all-season program, and then he went through the summer, had a good summer, and then we got into fall camp, we got short at linebacker, but he was a guy that was smart enough. I knew we could put him in a different spot, and he'd learn it quickly, and certainly was going to contribute a lot at linebacker. Obviously, now with some injuries at safety, we've moved him back to safety. He's a quick learner. He understands things. He catches on to things extremely quick. And I thought, again, he did some really nice things. We got to clean up some techniques and fundamentals. That's not his fault. That's our fault. We moved him to linebacker, and he knows that. So those are things we'll continue to work through. Mm-hmm.
Whether it's Brandon or Perry, whoever playing quarterback, now that you're settled on one guy moving forward, how much does that help with consistency and I guess having the offense just knowing that's going to be that one guy?
Well, I think, certainly everybody's a little different in how they throw it and the different timing of different things and handoffs, especially as much ball handling we have with the zone read and the different things we're reading. Certainly could be a calming factor for a lot of especially young players. So I certainly could speak to that aspect of it, yes.
We hear so much about Brandon's confidence. Is that something he walked in the door with, or is that something that developed as he went on and got more comfortable in this system?
No, I think that how you carry yourself is a lot about who you are, and then you either build confidence or you tear it down. And he's not done nothing but to build it since he's been here. And I think Chad would say the same thing from a baseball standpoint, and I would say from a football standpoint of a guy that carries himself like you would want a guy to carry himself at that position as a quarterback here at South Carolina.
Is that rare for a freshman?
Well, yeah, it's hard because, I think that, you got to have a lot of confidence in your abilities. There's a lot being thrown at him right now as far as scheme, playing on the road. Whether you agree or not, that position is the leader of your team because of the importance of that position playing well. So he understands all those things, so he's handling all of those things, and I think very well. I think Perry Orth's been great for him. Here's a guy that's a senior that really has supported him in a very positive way. I think that says a lot about who Perry Orth is, number one, but it also says a lot about Brandon's personality for someone to want to help him. Because sometimes in those situations, a young guy, you don't want to help the guy because the guy thinks he knows it all. And Brandon's not like that. Brandon's very welcoming to listening and gaining advice in those situations. So it's been a neat situation moving forward, and excited about him continuing to improve.
Coach, just talk about your defense. Preparation week in and week out, seems to be facing an offense that can produce a lot of points. How are you just getting the team focused, facing the challenge week to week?
Well, that's the hardest part about being a defensive coach is offensively you have your set of blocking rules in the run game and the pass game, and then you have your route concepts, and then you have your run game concepts for your skill guys. So you rep those things through, and then you got to figure out how you're going to block this pressure or that pressure, or this front or that front, and how we're going to handle those things, or maybe a personnel issue of who we're going to block and how we're going to block this guy if you're facing that kind of team. Defensively, you go from playing a team that's going to go up tempo and snap it as many times as they can and toss it all over the yard, to this team this week is going to go up tempo, but they want to run the ball, and they run it extremely well with some really talented guys. They have all the RPOs built off of it. As we move forward in our season, we're going to see teams are going to play two-back, and play West Coast system, and then we love to, have these option teams on our schedule. So, every single week there's something new you've got to face, and you've got to introduce. And we practice on Sunday. We're off on Monday. We practice on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we have a walkthrough on Friday. So in 5 days, you've got to completely switch gears defensively and go from facing a team that does this to facing a team that does that. That's why it's hard to be a defensive coach and a defensive player, because you've got to completely change sometimes. Now, there's a lot of carryover from East Carolina to Kentucky concept-wise, so that's a good thing. And moving forward, there'll be some carryover in some weeks. But, right now, that's the hardest thing that we face week to week is switching gears and saying, okay, remember how we played it last week? We're not doing that anymore. We're going to do it this way now. And that's a very difficult part of being a defensive coach and defensive player.
Will Darius English said that the role he's in now, he feels like it really suits him. Can you just talk about the way he's played the last 3 games?
Really proud of Darius. He had a hip injury throughout the spring and really struggled. We kind of held him. They felt like the best way to handle it was rest. And so he didn't do a lot in the spring. I didn't really know where he was mentally, going into a coaching transition, change. You don't really know sometimes. But the guy has had a great summer, and he's had a really good camp and the first very good 3 games. Plays extremely hard, and just really works hard on the practice field. Doesn't say a lot, but a guy that's really, really proud of how he is playing and how he prepares himself. And he's been a great example for Dennis Wanham and a lot of our young players that are playing. And that's what you need. You need to have that to show young guys this is how we do things, and this is how you prepare like a pro. And so I've been really proud of Darius.
How do you think he's taken to the coverage aspect of that position?
Well, good. We don't ask him to do a bunch. He's going to rush the passer more than he's going to drop in coverage. But again, we don't ask those guys to do a lot. But he's been very coachable in everything we've asked him to do, and that's what I've been most excited about. All right.
Against ECU, on some of the plays where you got Brandon on the move, it would seem like sometimes you'd be kind of running around and just suddenly pop into sort of a straight-up spot to throw. Is that something you want from him, and is that kind of a sign of sort of how mature his game is?
Well, you're talking about some pocket movement, sprint-out passing game?
Well, he'd kind of get on the run and then sort of hop into standing straight.
When you're running on like a boot route, a cross route, you want to get your feet set and throw if you can. When you get your feet set and throw, you're going to be more accurate with the ball, as opposed to maybe if you're throwing a hitch and it's an outside throw, you throw off of the run, you square your shoulders to your target, and you throw. So really it's more of a technique issue than it is a maturity issue.
How has Steve Montag progressed for a guy who got here kind of late?
Yeah, really good. He came, I think, the first day we started camp. Again, another very bright guy, has a really good feel for the game, and is come in a lot on his own to come in and watch film and go through the film and ask questions. He asks the right kind of questions. He asks questions that you realize he gets ball and understands it. Again, just going to continue to improve as he plays more, And, proud of how he played the other night. We got some things we got to clean up. We certainly can do a lot better, and our opponents are watching that film and probably getting excited about it. So we got to make sure we get those things cleaned up.
Coach, over here. Sorry for being late. Coach, you talked about earlier with Orth and McElwain, just the relationship they have. I mean, how important is it, though, to be able to have guys be able to stay together? Obviously they're competing for jobs. I mean, for freshmen to be able to come in here, they're trying to learn your system, but at the same time, you guys have that ultimate goal, but they want to be on the field. To just be able to have that relationship, though, and know that you're competing for the same thing. The ultimate goal is to win the SEC.
Right. Well, I think that, you try to promote that as a staff. It doesn't always get carried out by a team member. But you look in Perry's situation, he was constantly helping Jake and constantly helping Brandon, the guys he's competing with, because he wants the best for South Carolina. That says a lot about him as a person. Somebody asked me about Stephen Montag earlier, and you had Chaz Elder, and you had DJ Smith, and you had a lot of those guys that went through spring helping Jamarcus King, helping Stephen Montag, helping them because they want the best for South Carolina. So I think as much as anything, I want to credit our assistant coaches for really preaching. That's how you have a good organization. It's when we're helping each other and we understand that we're all coming together for a common purpose, and that's to help South Carolina. And we're going to put our egos on the shelf, and we're not going to be selfish about the decisions we make. So it says a lot about the young men that we're dealing with, which are outstanding people, but it also says a lot about where we're headed with the program.
Who are some of the best practice players you have? Like anybody that's like consistently from spring, preseason.
I mean,
camp?
Mason
No.
Zandy's a guy that goes out. Corey Helms every day. Zach Bailey does a good job. I mean, I hate to mention some guys and not mention others because we have a lot of guys that do it right. Now, I complain a lot, but, I mean, at the end of the day, we have a lot of guys that do practice the right way. Marquavius Lewis practices great. I mean, he really practices hard, does things the right way. John Walton, man, he going to go out every single day and give it everything he's got. Bryson Allen Williams, I mean, we have a lot of guys that are doing it the right way.
Coach, one more win and you'll match the win total from last year. I'm wondering, you obviously don't think about that much last year at all, but how important has this start been to win the first 2 out of 3, and especially having to go on the road now twice?
Well, we'd like to have won all 3.
How much do you see Sky Moore, and can you update us on his physical progress?
Yeah, every day. He was cleared, I want to say Monday or Tuesday of last week. I'm not positive on the exact date, Phil, that he's running, he's lifting, he's spending a lot of time in the weight room, and that was one of the things that, the good Lord works in mysterious ways of why things happen to us. I told Sky, we got to get stronger. I mean, we got to get more girth on our body. I got to continue to keep our athleticism, our change of direction, our instincts for the ball, all of those things that God's blessed you with. But we got to get bigger. We got to get stronger. We got to get more powerful. So now he's been able to go in the weight room with our strength staff and been able to lift and really concentrate on those things he can do to continue to improve. And that's what we're going to do. It's about getting better every single day, and how can you improve yourself and then help the organization. And works extremely hard, and again, but his health is very good.
Early in the spring, you talked about the importance the tight ends are going to have in this offense. Like right now, Hayden and Casey, I think, are second and third on the pass receiving try. So has the role of the tight end sort of developed the way you envisioned it way back in spring practice?
Yeah, again, Hayden Hurst is a guy that's playing really a new position, so he's going to continue to progress. KC is a new offense and being asked to do some different things. He's like a freshman. Hayden's like a freshman. Jacob played last year. He's been a part of that. He's done a nice job. Keel Pollard played a little bit the other way. He's going to continue to play more week to week to week moving forward. So all 4 of those guys, and extremely pleased with their progress, and they're going to keep getting better. Exactly how, I was hoping it would, deal itself out.
It's not something we talk about all the time, but 3 games into the year, are you pleased with your special teams and how everybody's kind of bought into your system in that way?
Well, I think that, the kickoff return was really good the other night. We didn't have many opportunities in Starkville. Didn't block it very well at Vanderbilt, but really pleased with starting the game that way. Kickoff coverage has been solid. Not nothing that we need to improve, and I think a lot of that goes back to team speed. That's something we got to continue to work on. Really pleased the other night. Quay Johnson was a really good punt returner, and I thought our coverage units, Javon Charleston namely, did a really nice job of fronting the returner up and bubbling the ball. So really pleased with the coverage units from that standpoint. Didn't get much of a chance on punt return. We got to make them punt every now and then. So, but again, it's a work in progress. We spend a lot of time on special teams. I think the guys would tell you that probably more than anybody, and the different drills that we do. But it's 1/3 of the game. It's a great opportunity to be a game changer. We have a lot of, you look at the kickoff return, you had Keel Pollard and T.J. Brunson, 2 true freshmen, that had made key blocks to spring A.J. on the kickoff return to start the game. But, our best players play on special teams, and it's a huge part of the game.
Will, your familiarity with Mark Stoops, does that at all translate to any similarities in concept or philosophy or anything you guys do on the field?
I think that there's some scheme similarities that are very similar, in preparation for them, and I'm sure they feel the same with us. But I think that, and I've got great respect for Bob and Mike as well. And when I was at LSU and Oklahoma was playing extremely well on defense, Nick had Mike come in and spend 2 days with us to talk scheme and talk ball. And I went back to Norman the next year and did the same with them and shared ideas. So I got great respect for the entire family and how, they coach football the right way. They do it the right way. And so a lot of respect for them.
Will, you mentioned wanting to see how your players approach the days since Saturday and then a pep in the step Sunday. Did that carry over into practice?
Yeah, we had a good day today. We did. We had a really good tempo at practice. I think the guys have really responded and understanding that you can't flip the switch. You don't do that. You don't do that on game day. You prepare the right way, and I don't believe in gamers. You prepare the right way, you practice the right way, and then on game day, your preparation helps the game slow down and you play well. And I think our guys are continuing to buy into that. It's been good.
Will, there are more, it seems like there are more and more freshmen getting opportunities to play at quarterback, perhaps one of the most important positions. Have coaches become more open to that idea, or are these freshmen perhaps showing you guys that they've got more and deserve the opportunity?
I think a lot of it has to do with players coming out for the NFL draft, and at all positions, not just quarterback. Quarterback's the one we focus on, but I think it's all positions. There's more guys coming out for the draft, so there's more younger players playing now at all positions. Quarterback's obviously the focal point, but at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for your football team. I can only speak about ours in our situation. So, but again, I think a lot of that has to do with a lot of players coming out early, and there's I think it has to do with a lot of transfers right now. Guys don't get their way; they want to go somewhere else. So you got a lot of guys leaving and changing schools. You got the graduate transfers leaving. So I think that those situations have attributed as much as anything to why so many young guys are playing.
Coach, for some reason, we're seeing so many players prematurely dropping the ball before the end zone. I don't know if that's something you've addressed with your team at all, and how would you handle that situation if one of you guys?
Not good. It doesn't need to happen, I can tell you that. We've had a hard time getting there. We dang sure don't want to drop it before we get there.
You've mentioned several freshmen just in this press conference as difference makers. Are you surprised at all at how many guys have come in and contribute in such a big way? Is there anything that's really impressed you from that group?
I don't think you ever know. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and you think that a guy's going to come in and play, and you got to have the opportunity. You have to have the ability. But more than anything, playing as a freshman comes back to maturity. How mature does this guy handle the day-to-day grind and the operation, And that you never know that, Brandon McElwain's he's a mature guy. Brian Edwards is a very mature guy. T.J. Brunson, he's a mature guy. I'm not saying the other guys are immature. I'm just saying it has a lot to do with intangible things of you got school going on, you got your social life going on, you got football going on. There's a lot going on in their lives that had before. There's a lot of freedom in their lives they haven't had before, and it's just you never know how a young man's going to respond and react in those situations. It doesn't always have to do with ability. You know, two of the last 4 Heisman Trophy winners, they were redshirted. Johnny Manziel and Jameis Winston. So being redshirted is not a bad thing. But in our society, we've got an instant coffee society right now. We want everything now. And if it's not now, then you guys say there must be something wrong, right? So it's just the way it is. And there's nothing wrong with being redshirted. I was redshirted. I mean, I wasn't any good, but I was redshirted. So it didn't really matter. But, I mean, there's a bunch of good football players. Earl Thomas was redshirted. He was the 17th pick in the draft. Doesn't mean you're a bad football player. It just means maybe the opportunity wasn't right. Maybe there was an injury. Maybe you didn't have the right situation, whatever it was. But there's not a bad word to be redshirted. That's not bad. That's a good thing. I always ask players, are you going to be better as a 22-year-old senior, or are you going to be better as a 17-year-old freshman? Well, they always say, I'll be better when I'm 22. Well, yeah, that's why you get redshirted. So it gives you another opportunity to grow and develop. Football's a developmental game.
With Brandon, are the finer points of reading unblocked guys in the run game, is that something that translates really quickly from high school, or is that something that does take a little time to develop and learn? Well,
it happens quickly and it happens fast, and you got to be a very decisive decision maker, you know, and that's something that we evaluate and treasure. It's very important for us at the quarterback position to be a decisive decision maker. And part of that is in the zone read situation. Part of that is where to take the ball. Is it middle field coverage? Is it split safety coverage? Is it man? Is it zone? So you've got to have a really good decision maker at that position to understand those and make decisive, good decisions. And, you know, we've been pretty clean in those situations.
Coach, when you were talking about redshirting, Lorenz Bryant, his health for this week, and if he can't go this week, do you sit down with him and talk about maybe redshirting for the year? Do you have a game or a date where you say maybe this is the best to just sit out a year?
No, right now, because of our depth, we're working to get him back. And he is running. He looked actually decent at practice this morning. He didn't practice. He's with our injured group, but he's a guy that we're hoping to get back in the next couple weeks.
Coach, if Brandon comes out and struggles on Saturday, does Perry come back in? How much of a quarterback competition still is there?
Well, I mean, it's no different than any other position, and I don't expect him to struggle. So I expect him to play well, and that's what our plan is going into the game.
How exactly is the zone read handoff communicated? The quarterbacks, when the quarterback lets go, I mean, how do they?
Well, it's a feel, and we practice it every single day. I mean, that's just part of what we do to start. Our individual offensively starts with our quarterbacks and running backs, and that's we're giving them reads every single day to go through that process. Now, we do at times call it, and we're going to run it no matter what. We don't want there to be a read. There are times that we have an RPO built in with it. There are times we don't have an RPO built in with it. There are times he may not be reading the end of the line player. He might be reading a linebacker. So it's all based on call of whether or not we're giving the ball or not.
But it's on the quarterback to either let it go or not let it go.
Yep, and he's either got the grip and he's letting it go or he's not. And it's something that, Josh, we spend a lot of practice time on that. A lot. People have no idea. You know, you go back to the old days when everybody's running the wishbone or the split back veer. And then you spend all those times of running the rails as far as the inside and handing the ball off, and all that ball handling is very critical. And then, you know, now you're in a shotgun catching the ball. You got to seat the ball and then start working in terms of handing it off and reading it a 300-pounder. It's a little different deal. Any other questions for Coach? All righty. Thank you.